Have you ever wondered why, after just a few hours in a social setting, you feel like you've run an emotional marathon? It's not shyness, it's not antipathy, and often it's not a lack of social skills. It's social fatigue. Social fatigue is a profound tiredness that arises after interactions with other people, even when those interactions are pleasant. It's an exhaustion that doesn't appear in the body first, but in the mind. An invisible feeling of overload, as if the brain has processed too much information, too much emotion, too much stimulation. And this isn't being fussy. It's psychology. People experiencing social fatigue often leave gatherings, meetings, family visits, or busy environments with an urgent need for silence, isolation, and recovery. They don't want to talk. They don't want to explain. They don't want to interact. They just want to stop. Here's why. The human brain is a social reading machine. During an interaction, it analyzes facial expressions, tone of voice, words, gestures, microexpressions, context, social expectations, and possible interpretations. This happens all the time, automatically and unconsciously. For some people, this process is easy. For others, it's intense, extremely intense. People who suffer from social fatigue generally have a very active social perception system. They notice details that most people don't. They pick up on subtle changes in others' moods, notice tensions in the environment, interpret glances, and analyze reactions. What for many is just a conversation, for them is a field of constant analysis. It's as if the brain never stops working. And that's tiring. Furthermore, these people tend to have a high level of cognitive empathy. They don't just listen to what the other person says. They try to understand what the other person feels, what the other person wants to say, what the other person is hiding, and what the other person expects from them in that interaction. This constant reading leads to mental overload. Another important factor is social self-regulation. People with social fatigue tend to monitor their own behavior all the time. What they are saying, how they are saying it, whether they are being polite, interesting, appropriate, and agreeable. This internal monitoring consumes psychological energy. It's like driving a car while looking at the road and the rearview mirror at the same time, never relaxing. There is also the issue of social noise. Environments with many voices, lights, stimuli, and parallel conversations require the brain to filter information all the time. This filtering process, known in psychology as attentional control, is highly exhausting. The more stimulation, the more effort, and more tiredness. People with social fatigue often need more alone time to restore their mental energy. Isolation is not escape, it's neurological recovery. It's the time when the brain stops processing social cues and can finally rest. Therefore, after social events, they don't want to continue texting. They don't want to answer calls. They don't want to prolong the interaction. Their system is already at its limit. There is also a point that is rarely discussed: the difference between liking people and tolerating social stimuli. Many of these people enjoy being with friends. They like to talk. They like to get together. The problem isn't the company. It's the cognitive load that comes with it. They leave happy and exhausted at the same time. Another relevant aspect is the introverted personality. People more focused on their inner world expend more energy when they need to maintain prolonged attention on the external world. Social interactions demand exactly that: continuous attention to the outside world. This constant shift of focus from internal to external factors generates wear and tear. It is also common for people with social fatigue to have a history of emotional hypervigilance. Throughout their lives, they have learned to pay close attention to others to avoid conflict, rejection, or discomfort. This habit, once an adaptation strategy, has now become automatic. And automatic is even more tiring because it's never turned off. Social fatigue is also related to decision overload. During interactions, the brain is constantly making decisions: when to speak, when to listen, how to react, what topic to bring up, what opinion to express, what expression to make. These are continuous micro-decisions. Making decisions is tiring, and making decisions socially is even more exhausting. Therefore, many of these people prefer deep conversations with a few people rather than environments with many superficial interactions. Superficiality demands a type of social performance that consumes a lot of energy for little emotional return. They prefer quality over quantity. There is also the issue of the invisible limit. People with social fatigue often have a maximum interaction time. After that point, patience decreases, attention drops, and the desire to leave increases. Not because they stopped enjoying the situation, but because the brain has reached its processing limit. It's like a cell phone that gets down to 5% battery. It works, but it's almost finished. And the more they ignore this limit, the worse they feel afterward. Irritation sets in, extreme fatigue, the need for prolonged isolation, and often guilt for feeling this way. Guilt is another important factor. They wonder why they can't be normal, why they can't endure as much as others, why they need so much time alone. But the issue isn't weakness. It's a different psychological functioning. Society values extroversion, constant availability, and intense sociability. Those who don't keep up with this pace feel that something is wrong with them. But there isn't. There is only one nervous system that processes the social world in a deeper, and therefore more exhausting, way. Understanding this changes everything. Because when a person understands that they are not unfriendly, strange, or antisocial, they begin to respect their boundaries. They start to plan their social time better, accept invitations consciously, and go out before they reach exhaustion. It's starting to take shape, and this improves the quality of interactions. Because when boundaries are respected, the presence is more genuine, the conversation is lighter, and the experience is more positive. Social fatigue is not a personality problem. It's a sign that the brain is asking for breaks that have been ignored for too long. And when these breaks are granted, something interesting happens. The person starts to enjoy interacting again. Weightless. No exhaustion. No guilt. If you recognized yourself in these characteristics, perhaps it's not that you hate people. Perhaps you simply need more silence than most people to feel good. And that's not a flaw. It's self-knowledge. If you found this content meaningful, leave a comment sharing your experience and consider subscribing to follow more reflections like this.